do that today here. It's the difference between imprisonment and freedom. And so the Course a lot of times shows us that we actually don't really know what we want, and that what we want is usually upside down from what we think we want. So as the Course corrects those perspectives for us, we remember a little bit more what it is that we're doing here, why we're in the relationships that we're in, and how everything is actually exactly imperfect as it is. So the Course teaches us that. And so for those of you guys that don't know what the Course is, if you're first time tuning in anywhere, it is this book right here. It was scribed, means it was channeled by Helen Schuckman in the late 60s, early 70s. And she was in a really, intense environment at Columbia University where people, like a lot of companies and environments, it's kind of hostile. Everybody's in their scarcity, and so they'll step on each other to get ahead. When other people get promoted, it's kind of like, there's almost like this feeling of wanting others to fail or not wanting to celebrate other people's wins. So in that space, it was very hostile. The environment was challenging for Helen and her colleague William Thetford. So they're like, there must be a better way. And I always say this, that like there must be a better way is a surrendering to the way that you think you got it. And how often do we think we have the best way? And so, as we share the Course, as we start this call here today, just know that you are here for a reason, and the intention is that while you're here, maybe you'll hear something that's going to shift your perspective. And that's what the Course says. It's a miracle. A miracle happens when you shift your perspective from a fearful place to a loving place, from a closed place to an open place, from a, I already know, to there must be a better way. And the intention for all of us is to tap into that frequency, which is the frequency of love, of God, of universe expansion. And if we can tap into that flow and be a part of it, then anything that happens, we can be totally at peace with, because there's a deep sense of trust and faith as things are happening outside. So for example, there is this, hurricane that smashed through Florida, Atlanta, all the states above as well. And, so a lot of prayers to everybody that's involved in that, or affected by the hurricanes. And, may everybody find peace and love even there. So prayers going out to everybody affected by that. We'll start with, as usual, Marianne Williamson's book of a Year of Miracles. So for today's reflection, we're going to start on saying yes to new beginnings. All right? Every moment is a new beginning. So let's say yes to these new moments and allow miracles to flow into our lives. So our very cells respond to the thoughts we think. So here it is again. This is, we talked about last week. It's the cause and effect. Our mind is where it starts. Our very cells respond to the thoughts we think. With every word, silent or spoken, we participate in the body's functioning. We participate in the functioning of the universe itself. If our consciousness grows lighter, then so does everything within and around us. This means, of course, that with every thought, we can start to recreate our lives. In saying yes to new beginnings, we begin to bring them forth. So, we have, whatever challenges, whatever difficulties, anything that's happening in your life right now, with the right perspective, we say yes to those new beginnings. We allow miracles to show up in our lives by saying yes to, whatever the challenges may be. Maybe it's a difficult fight with a spouse. Maybe it's challenges in financials, or not being able to find love, or whatever those challenges that is disturbing the peace in your mind right now. I'm not good enough. I don't know my purpose. I don't know what I'm doing today. I'm not getting enough things done. You can say yes to new beginnings, which is a new way to relate to all of those things, right? In a place that is rooted deeply in trust. So as we begin today's call, I'm going to continue just sharing a little bit of the chapter that I'm working on right now in my book. Part of this call right now, because I feel sometimes that there's so much channeling and so much connection that happens on these calls. I would love to use it to help me brainstorm as well, because some of the greatest kind of ideas come through here, right? So last week we summed up at the fourth universal principle that I wrote, which is from, they're not exactly from the teachings of the Course, but they are all inspired from there. And the Course talks about them like these are the laws of God, right? And they never change. So I kind of just compiled all the times that the Course was saying that. So the next one, last week, so just kind of catching up on that. Last week we were at, the law of cause and effect. That we think that the cause of things happening is something outside of us, when it really is not, and why can't I let somebody in? Here we go. So as we kind of correct our cause and effect, we recognize that one, God is the cause and everything else is the effect. Okay, so that means God's in charge of all this, right? So we can let go of our responsibility or our perception that we have control of anything. And that is how we tap into the flow of life, is to one, be in that place. And two is that the mind is the cause, right? So here the Course, Marianne just said, all of our cells respond to our thoughts. All of our cells respond to our thoughts. It responds to, the words that come from those thoughts, whether they're spoken or thought of. So words create. All thoughts create form on some level, is what the Course says. And so we went through cause and effect, recognizing that I make things real first in my mind, and then I go out and seek all the evidence to reaffirm what is real for me inside. So my projection actually makes my perception. So recognizing that cause and effect, what we're working on these calls is to be at peace, is to bring peace forward, so that peace is real in my mind first, and then I project it back out into the world, and then it reflects back to me all the places that is peace, right? So part of the conference that I'm putting on October 21st to 23rd is a calling to a movement. We do live in a time right now where everything is very exciting, but at the same exact time, it's also very scary. So it's like the most exciting time of our lives and the most scary time of our lives. And both of those things exist only in which you give the power to. So the calling and the accepting this calling is to say, I am going to stand with abundance. I am going to stand with love. I am going to stand with God. Not with the ego, where everything is, it's based on separation of us as in general, and the duality thinking, and that we somehow can find our salvation from anything outside of ourselves. That's the path of the world is scary. That's the path of depression and sadness and confusion and confliction. So we have every moment we get to choose, and we can say yes to this new beginning, to this new moment. And so the next universal principle that I put in there is the principle of miracles. Okay, that miracles are natural expressions of love. It is maximum expansion. And that these miracles actually show us and reflect back to us that love increases when it is given and received. And they're not huge things that happen. They're not grand, but or huge spiritual events or anything, but they're just subtle changes of how you see the world around you, how you see the people around you, how you relate to everything, how you relate to, I'm not with my daughter right now. I'm not with my son right now. I have a conflict with the mom or the dad. Or we have challenges with money. You know, everything is stacked up. I just don't know what to do. Everything I do is I'm going back in circles around the whole thing, and I cannot get ahead. Whatever that is, can we change our perception and our relationship to those things so that we may allow more abundance and miracles to flow through us? Miracles allow us to see beyond the fear, beyond the judgment. Okay, so it's really to restore our minds to a space of peace and oneness and unity. So all healing and all miracles, essentially, its only purpose is for us to remember that separation doesn't exist. Is to heal our minds from seeing separation and to correct cause and effect. Okay, and the other principle, the next principle, is the principle of our mind. Right? I love that we started, I flipped open, it's Marianne Williamson talking about the mind, that our thoughts, that our cells, every single one of our cells react and respond to the thoughts that we have in our mind. Our mind is the cause, right? Cause, effect, the sickness in my body, the soreness in my body, whatever the story I have around my body, it begins with the thought. It begins with aligning to a story, aligning to something that ultimately all of these ideas limit us. Right? The purpose that we are here, the purpose our soul is here, is to recognize the limitlessness that is us. The limitlessness that we can bring to others. The movement that we can start to help the whole world remember. You know, so the mind is the activating agent, is the catalyst for spirit. And the mind creates the reality of the experience that we have. Okay, so that's just the principle of the mind, is that the mind is very powerful. And you, in your choice between love and fear, you create the world around you, you create the frequencies around you, and that shapes your experience of your life. The experience of your life does not depend on all the things that are happening outside. It depends on how you think about them. Is your mind aligned with love? Does it create peace? Does it create joy and unity? Because that would be your experience if your mind is aligned with love. But when your mind is not aligned with love, then you experience separation, anxiety, conflict, attack, judgment, war. So really what we can do is we can look at our experience and backtrack it, right? Reverse engineer and be like, oh, well, then my mind must be at fear. Because what we do is we tend to look to the problems outside. That's causing me anxiety. That's causing me fear. That's causing me the annoyance, the judgments, whatever it is. And that's it. And then we go fix those things, and it never works. Because once that's fixed, another one happens. So remember last week we talked about let me recognize the problem so that I can recognize the solution. And then the next lesson after that is let me recognize the problem's already been solved. So here, let me recognize the question. Let me recognize the problem. The problem is that in my mind, I chose to align with fear. But we think that the problem is this person. We think the problem is the investment. We think the problem is the market. And so we try to solve those things. As we try to solve those things, nothing is ever solved. We solve symptoms of the world. I had a conversation with Paul Hutchinson a while back, and we're talking about human trafficking, child trafficking. And, I was like, okay, so you've spent 10 years down there, and you rescued a bunch of children, and yes, you made a difference in those people's lives. But when you went in, there was, 8 million people being trafficked. And then when you came out, now there's 22 million. So did he solve any problems, or did he actually enhance the problem? By making the problem more real, by trying to attend to symptoms, we create a bigger, we actually highlight and amplify the problem. Now, if we look at the problem, or wherever that, judgment or restlessness or conflict that rests inside us, and we bring it back to, it's in my mind that I can't see love, and I'm choosing fear right now. I'm choosing to align with the ego, edging God out. I am not in alignment with God, because if I was in alignment with God, I would recognize that all people are already healed, that there are no sins, and everybody is an innocent child of God. Now, the ego doesn't really want to hear this, because we just go right back into, look at the world, look at this, what about this person, what about that person? But what about your experience of the world? Because you focus on those things, it just brings more anxiety to you. Then you bring it to your environment, you bring it to your work, and you just create more of the same, and that thing amplifies. The mastery of love is not the same thing as mastery of problems and symptoms and fear. The mastery of light is not the same thing as mastery of shadows. That makes sense? Because there's only what you focus on grows. That is it. That's the law right there. What you focus on grows. It becomes more real for you. You tell one story over and over and over again, you actually can trick your mind to believe that actually happened. Same thing the other way, right? I can speak into a past that didn't even happen the way that I thought. The Course says your past did not happen the way you thought. You had a story, you had a thought, you had a perception about your past, but it's not your past, because there are all these other things, 99.999 repeating all the way across, you did not see happening. So you picked a little story that aligns with an identity that you have about yourself, and that's what you amplified. And you amplified it so much that the other 99.99 repeating doesn't even exist anymore. It's not even a possibility for you. And we all do this, but this is the time for us to choose new beginning, and to recognize the difference between imprisonment and freedom. So the law of the principle that I put in there of the mind is this. Okay, and then I'm just going to share one more, and I'll just do a couple on every call for now, and until this chapter is done for me. The principle of extension. The way that God works, the way that love works, the way that joy works, is that in order to have something, okay, the Course says, to have, give all to all. That means this law, which follows the one previous of where I give my attention to, it amplifies and it grows. The law of extension is that in order for you to have something, you must give it away. In giving, you receive. Right? And nobody ever became poor. I saw somebody made a post. I don't know where it is, but nobody ever became poor from giving. Love that. So this principle right here teaches us that what we give to others, we keep for ourselves. If we extend love, kindness, and forgiveness to others, we will experience those back in our own lives. Same thing as projection makes perception, right? It's just kind of a little different spin on it. The Course will keep sharing all the different ways, penetrating from all different ways to show you love, who you are. So the principle reverses, it's kind of everything that the ego does. God says, nope, put it upside down. So we reverse the ego's teachings and belief in separation and scarcity by demonstrating, by showing evidence that abundance grows when it is shared. The experience of love grows when you share it with others, when you focus it outwards and you give freely 100% with no strings attached. Forgiveness. I extend forgiveness, not for you. Maybe you don't deserve forgiveness, but you know what? It's for me. And everybody deserves forgiveness because nothing really happened. So in our daily lives, in our daily interactions, can we offer kindness, compliment, right? Let me lend a hand. Let me see someone on the side of the street asking for money. Let me not just drive by them. At least let me acknowledge it. Let me acknowledge my brother out there and send a prayer, right? I don't need to stop and do something big, but in my own mind that shifts that, hey, brother, I see you. Sister, I see you. I acknowledge you. We give with no expectations. And a prayer, a word of, acknowledgement, we can easily give those without wanting something in return, right? So we can start by there, practicing there. How do we enrich our own lives and our own sense of well-being and peace by just practicing something small? Acknowledging somebody today is not that hard, and it will make you feel better. If you don't feel good right now, just acknowledge somebody, be grateful for something, and that grows. Extension. And this is how God extends. Okay? And so, I wanted to open up with that just to kind of get us into the space. And I would love to just what's alive for anybody on this call, and maybe start there. And I definitely will start the section in the book soon, because I do want to get this section done. Awesome. Okay then. Well, oh, here we go. Helen.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I just loved you had me at your first word saying that this this day is for new beginnings, because as you well know, I'm definitely experiencing new beginnings again, and boy, this shit never gets old. This shit
Well,
never gets
that's why
old.
it's new.
But yeah, and it, amidst all the storms that I perceive myself to be in, I'm already seeing the blessing. I'm already seeing the blessing, and through A Course in Miracles, I've been able to get from there to here a lot faster. You know, the path is a lot shorter, a lot quicker from me being in like in complete disarray and crumbling down whenever something hard hits me, where I would fall apart and stay up, stay in my pity pot for a while and not react soon enough. Now I could look forward and see the blessing right away. I'm like, how is this happening for me, not to me? And that's obviously, made all the difference in the world as far as how I move forward, and I have lots of new beginnings now to look forward to. And now I see, you don't always see God's way. It's not a guaranteed thing, but every once in a while you get a glimpse of it. And so this time I was able to see the glimpse of that light, way, way, way ahead. But at least I saw the light, and thank you for showing me that light.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, sharing the light. So miracles shift our perceptions from that fearful place to love, right? So you had a moment of miracles. That means that problem that came up, whatever had you lose your mind, served the miracle. That means your forgetting serves your remembering, right? And the faster we rebound, right? And so even time, right? The Course says miracles save you time. That's all it does. It's saving you time. We're compressing time by being in miracles. So then we can say, wow, every time I get into a fight, every time I'm rude, every time I'm unkind, oh, that forgetting serves the remembering. That remembering serves the miracle. That miracle serves me returning back to my true self to love. Oh, The entire thing is just this process. So every time that comes back, every time something comes up, man, I'm scared. I'm scared. I don't know what's going to what's going to happen next. I'm scared if I'm going to lose my house. I'm scared I'm going to lose this, all this stuff. Oh, it serves the purpose. It serves the journey back home. Good one. What was all that? That was at 9:34. Okay. Helen, go ahead, and then Brooke is next. You gotta unmute yourself, Helen. There you
Okay.
go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, on the last session, when I talked about standing in front of Jesus and how the feeling of unworthiness happened, and so I'm in somebody else's house and I'm dog sitting for the week. Well, yesterday I slipped on some water and I fell, and so last year I fell and broke my femur, and so it's healed and I'm in good condition. But when I fell this time, I was in severe pain. My foot was painful, and so I went through all this heady stuff, and but what I did was I connected that unworthiness feeling that I had 3 days ago to this fall. In some respects, I think I punished myself. Now, I don't know if this. So during the process of the fall, I was in pain, but I was in touch with God the whole entire time. I was talking to God and just getting into some deep things, and I felt like I wasn't connecting, but I kept on trying and kept on trying, and finally I felt connected to God. And so the emotional, the body and the mind is what you were talking about. We were talking about, and so that was prevalent in this story. The body was taken a beating because my mind was a little messed up. When I when I have these things happen to me, because they've happened all my life. So I know there's the pattern of behavior. When I feel unworthiness, I trip myself up,
Yeah.
essentially. And it brings me to the point when my mother was pregnant with me, my twin died before we were born. And I think about that my whole entire life. That what was that like, having an embryo, having your being separated and being abandoned. And so that, to me, I have to change that story. So thank you, Alex, because I have to look into that story a little more. And I think it's going to eventually, I'm going to have to look at that story as a love story. And it just is going to unblock this next step of what I need to go through in order to get another degree of love and kindness in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so, it's no different than what Jessica just shared about her losing her piece, right? It's just a different form. One just seems like it's heavier and bigger than the other, but really, like, what does it serve? It's serving the forgetting, the challenge, the dying, the sacrifice, whatever those things are, right? It serves the remembering. It serves the journey back home. It serves the journey to love. It serves the journey of a healed world. It serves the journey of the sonship returning so we all remember who we are, right? That's like, that story is you can shift to that. And then all of a sudden, everything else goes with it, because we don't really know. Like, we think, oh my God, all the horrors of death and loss, because the Course says all of your fear comes down to death. That's it. all of your fear comes down to death. Can you shift that conversation? Right? That there is nothing's ever dead. Nothing ever dies. Science has shown that to us, that matter never disappears. It or atoms, molecules, whatever it is. It never disappears. It just changes form. It changes form, and then it serves the great way. It serves the way, the Tao.
Well, thank you, Alex. And I thought I was doing a pretty good job of, and of singing properly. Being able to see, the good, being able to see things. I really thought I was doing a good job, but it feels like it's just part of the journey for me. It's just the next step to get even more confident, or whatever's going to happen.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Every single day, all of us, as long as we have a body here, that the journey keeps going. The journey keeps going, and more opportunities come. Now, anytime you don't actually learn from the experience, you don't give it over to God, you don't give it over to Spirit, you don't trust, when you're there, each time the stakes just get higher and higher. Right? So maybe you broke your femur then, and then you're going to break something, and then it's just going to be worse and worse and worse until you learn, like, what do I need to let go of? What am I still holding on to that is creating this pattern? Right? It's a cause and effect here. The cause is you go into this space of scarcity with your mind. Your body just follows. The reality and your experience of life just continues to follow. Now, again, we have to remember this, because we want to go into let me do the shadow work. Okay. And some people don't like this aspect of what I share. It's like, wait, so you're just going to spiritually bypass? I'm like, I don't even know what that means. When people say spiritual bypass, I have no idea what that means. It's just there's spirit. That's it. I'm not bypassing. I'm just aligning and giving my allegiance to spirit, and spirit will tell me. So we tend to want to do the shadow work. Let me go back into my experience with my twin or those stories, and we amplify those things more. Now, there is, of course, a time to do that work, right? Because sometimes we don't even bring awareness to it. So probably, yes, you can bring some awareness to it, but there's a point. The point in which you heal will be the point in which you decide that I'm not going to carry that story anymore. You brought the awareness, right? A lot of us just bring the awareness and we stay in the awareness. What's next? Right? What's the movement from the awareness of this? So yeah, everything in life is just following this same simple path, the same principles, the universal principles that if we learn them, right? Like, I know them, but I don't remember them all the time. I still lose my shit sometimes. I'm still in fear sometimes. Still get afraid and nervous and shake and sweat, right? Yeah.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Really appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Brooke, yay.
You're so cute. I love you, Alex. I hope you're doing well. So all of this is landing hard with me, and I wasn't able to speak last Sunday. And as Helen alluded, I always feel like, I'm pretty positive. I always have abundance and affirmations and a whole 9 yards. However, moving to Texas was about 5 months ago. And then last Saturday, I'm taking a lot of hits financially, physically, mentally, spiritually. And last Saturday, me and my daughter, my 12-year-old, got T-boned by an 18-year-old. Very scary. They totaled my car. I feel like I've gone through all the stages of grief within 7 days, 8 days of this. And what was scary is then 2 days later with both of my kids, it almost happened again with a Ford F-150 on my left when I was in my rental. And then the next day, my daughter has a bad situation of abuse from these two boys that is now being investigated. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I keep trying to tell myself, like, okay, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's this, there's that, right? But when as you're going through it, it's very difficult. And I feel like I'm kind of at the point, I'm like, okay, Brooke, I literally on my phone have it now where it's like, hey, I'm getting better every day or this or whatever, something along like every day and in every way I'm getting better and better. Like I have to like really hardcore put all of these things in perspective with reminders everywhere. I already have a vision board. I already have, you know, my Course in Miracles, the daily journal. I read that every day. I've been reading that excessively lately because I'm like just nonstop coming to Texas. I'm getting slammed, and then to lose my car and have them not give me the value which I expected after it's paid off. It's just a lot.
Yeah.
And then having my 12-year-old there, and yeah. And so what the miracle at the end of that is that we're alive, right? I've lost 2 friends who've been in 2 situations like this. And so I'm grateful that I'm alive. I'm grateful my 12-year-old's alive, even though I don't really want to drive anymore. But I have to suck it up and move on. And it's just in full transparency, people here in Texas, it is the Wild Wild West, y'all. And if you're local to Texas, people effing drive crazy. They're constantly on their phones. And I'm not trying to say, I know I come from California where we kind of get the whip crack on us a little bit, but I'd rather have order and rules and law be enforced than to be here and seeing people on motorcycles. Everybody's driving around hella fast, no helmets, no nothing. And a lot of people aren't insured or uninsured. And my attorney for the physical injury tried to go to chiropractor and all this other bullshit now. It's like, well, Brooke, this is, luckily you're in North Dallas. A lot of people have money there. They all have insurance. So if you go central and south, it's just too expensive. So my whole bottom line, so I'm not rambling, is that I feel like this is definitely testing me and hearing what everybody is saying. To just remember that a lot of the times when we're getting slammed and punched in the gut and punched in the head and getting the concussions, right, financially, physically, everything, it just reminds me to see the miracles and to know that if I'm going through hell, to keep going. There has to be something on the other side, because the last week or so has been very emotional. I've been very angry, and then I feel borderline depressed, and then I'm crying, and I'm just like, it's a lot. And my tendency is to retract when I'm going through these kind of things. And I've been on social for about, a week, give or take. And I'm just like, I'm trying to like overcome it so that I can bring my best self forward. And only in this space with all of y'all have I actually felt comfortable to really share it. So unless we have a current project going on, nobody knows. My parents don't know. Some of my friends don't even know, just because I don't need to hear the sympathy. I don't need to hear all the fucking bullshit, right? That's why I don't share it. Because then everybody, oh my God, and all the texts and the calls and all of that. I don't want to deal with that shit. I don't. I just want to go and move on. And I know this helps kind of talking it out, but yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. I always love when I hear you share. And like what you do is you actually continue to create this safe container, by sharing that, right? It's like, oh, I don't feel like sharing. But you know what? Right. Sharing actually is providing, right? This is how we give to others, right? In this, like, you need to receive. Like, you need to receive. So that means you need to give more. And to share vulnerably like this allows other human beings to feel safe. And when people feel safe, there is no war. When people feel safe, they don't do dumb things, right? Because they know have a safe place to go. So like, this is what you're extending and creating out by sharing. So first I want to just acknowledge and thank you for sharing that, because I just went through that went through the same thing with the car accident. Like for a while I was like, it's chaos in my mind. Like I think one thing and then it's another, and then I'm afraid, and I'm like, no, I got to tough it out. And, just like this constant thing. And then just like, all right, let me just like slow down. Right. I think life, like, especially I think car accidents is a calling to slow down, I believe. Just slow all the things down a little bit and get some perspective. Like I was watching a movie the other night, and there was this car that smashed into a tree. And they're like, the guy was like, this car has gone all over the place. It's run everywhere. It's driven everywhere. And this tree's just been sitting here still this entire time. And then the car hits the tree. It's like these two things merged and ended up in the same place anyways. So yeah. And so, just sending lots of love and prayer to you coming to like a calm and trusting place for yourself, and know that you're not alone in feeling all this. And by sharing, you're going to call the people to step out of their feeling alone and retracting too. Because in today's world, this is where we're at. There's a lot of blood on the streets. And when I mean blood, I mean loss of money, and literal blood too, right? Accidents. Because when people are feeling that way, when people are conflicted, it just creates more of it. Right. And so okay, let's interrupt this. Let's be an interruption to what's going on here. And yeah, thank you for sharing. And I think these calls are so powerful. Everyone that's on here, you guys are part of the awakening to the world. There's a movement happening every time we do one of these calls.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah. Okay, so who else wants to share a little bit more? Kathy, thank you for sharing that as well. I've experienced that too. I don't look at the mail, and that's why I don't even look at the mail today. There was a point in my life that I established that if I open the mail, it's gonna be a collector asking for money or something, and I don't pick up phone calls from what I know because of PTSD around all that. Now, it's fine to have PTSD around all that. It's just, can you have peace with it, right? I'm completely at peace with I'm never opening another envelope, in my life. I'm completely at peace with any phone numbers that I don't know I'm not picking up. So it's cool to have them, unless it's hindering your life somehow, unless it's, hurting something, then maybe you can do something different. But, it first comes the awareness to those things, right? So Kayla, hey, my friend.
Hi, Alex.
Hi.
And everyone else. I think it's interesting that there's been a lot of these references towards car accidents. And something that I've been dealing with is this intense chronic pain that's in my neck and shoulder from a car accident that happened a few years ago. And I'm coming up on this decision of whether or not I'm going to do surgery on my spine. And it's been a really intense process, and just coming up to that decision of, man, this might actually be something that can help me, even though it's something that I've been resisting and being in denial towards maybe for so long. And so when talking about creating the reality that we're living in, and when it comes to chronic pain and stuff like that, I'm just curious, what's the perspective that would be most, I guess, relieving of this situation to have from the course of just the suffering that it's been creating for me, and how to give it up to spirit and the decision to be made. And I don't know,
it's a great question. I'm actually gonna write this down real quick. Because this question comes a lot, when it comes to our bodies. And here's the thing. You can have I'm going to use cancer for a second. The Course says doesn't matter what you choose. You can get the surgery, you cannot get the surgery, right? There are people that have cancer that are so afraid that they need to do chemo to even give themselves a chance. There are people that are so not afraid that they heal themselves without any issues, because they're able to let all that go. So there's not a right answer for you, okay? It just depends on if you can recognize how much peace and fear you have within each thing. And then it's about letting those things go first. right? Like I just got into a head-on collision. I have 6 bulged discs that are almost requiring surgery according to them. And I was like, no, I'm going to go sit in a mushroom ceremony and I'm going to get someone to do some Reiki work on me. And right there, then, when I was getting the Reiki work done on medicine, I laid out the chapters of my book and then my neck pain disappeared. If I go get an MRI right now, the MRI will probably say that I'm supposed to experience a certain level of pain. I have no pain. And so and a big part of that too, there was a conversation. It was like, if I stay more in pain, I will receive more money from the insurance company. And I stopped going to the gym and I stopped posting on social media and all these things because I'm like, okay, if I do all of these things that the attorney tells me, I can receive more money. Like, how much of a scarcity thought is that? Like, now that I'm speaking out loud, I never really said that before. I just kind of, now it just feels like appropriate time to share that. And when I was like, nah, screw all that. I don't care if I don't get a single penny. Right. And just like Brooke, my car, I bought the Tesla for $125,000 when it was at the height during COVID. And I get into this crash. The car's worth like $45,000. I'm like, shit. Right. Good that I paid so much of it off and I put a huge down payment in the beginning. So I wasn't completely upside down, but I could have been completely upside down. So like these are, everything is energetics, and we want to go to say, no, it's the body. I have this, I have that. And, look at my MRI. It says that my C1 to C7 and my T1 is all bulged out of place. And there's pictures showing me that. Right. And at times when I do have a little bit of a neck ache, I'm like, oh man, it must be that. The fear comes back. And I'm just like, nah. Right. Like, it's about giving up that, like, there's something that you get for keeping the pain. We've said it in the personal development trainings. Like, you get something for holding on to pain. And the Course says you also get something for holding on to fear. Now the Course has a distinction between magic and miracles. Magic is I temporarily give healing powers to things that do not have healing powers. Maybe temporarily I give healing powers to money. So $100,000 may come in and fix all my problems right now so I can actually step into a place of peace. But normally that doesn't happen because that money comes in. I still have the scarcity thought. I spend it and then I go right back into the same place. That's why people win the lottery and just go right back into the same place. Doesn't matter how much money you get. It's, can you operate from abundance or scarcity? So it's kind of the same thing, but really not. Same thing, but same but different. But really, it's just different form of the same problem. So I don't have an answer for you, and hopefully that kind of helps a little bit in you discovering that.
Yeah. So I just want to make a distinction or clarify the question of, so you think the level of pain that is still present could be connected to like the like case and how like the money from the case is involved?
I don't know. You tell me. I know I did. I know I had that thought. And even though I operate very abundantly, I feel like that still came up, So I don't know. That would be something you can look into, if you think about it. Like, wait, should I get, if I go get the surgery, am I going to get an extra 100K? Would it make it more intense? Like, I've had it for 2 years, might as well just keep extending it. And then also, what happens if I get the money and I still need more treatments, right? Oftentimes when the case is over, people are more like healed. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that for you. It's just, perhaps you can look into that one,
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate your perspective.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, because I just got into a similar thing. Michael, welcome.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Well, I'm really grateful right now. I just gotta share that. I just moved in a new spot after 10 months and not having a stable space, so I'm really grateful. But it usually happens this time of year. Certain things come up. It was back in 2013. It's been a long time, and I was, you know, it's a crazy story that I'm gonna share right now, but it's the story that I kind of hold on to that I need to let go of. But um, in 2013, I was tripping on mushrooms with all my close friends, and some really crazy shit happened, and I ended up getting stabbed like really brutally. I had two surgeries from it: muscle reconstruction on my arm and kidney surgery because it punctured the tube that goes from my kidney to my bladder. And it was really intense. And when the cops came, they came and they thought I was covered in someone else's blood, and they tasered me with two tasers and like held the taser on me. And this all sorts of craziness happened between my friend group afterwards. And it's been coming up a lot the past few days, and I've been able to process a lot of it. I've done a lot of healing with it and understanding, it's like some past life stuff coming up for me that happened in past life, and maybe I survived it this time. Well, that exact thing happened or whatever. But the thing, it's so difficult to let go of this story because I have the actual scars, and I see them. I can see them, have those scars, and I have many other scars on my body from different times in my life where I was doing some crazy shit, and like what do I do to let go of the story when I have the scars to always remind me of it?
So it's again, everybody's journeys, everybody's curriculum individualized, and know that every one of your scars, whether it's emotional or physical, serves a great purpose to help you remember the light that you are. It can serve, right? If you shift your perspective that way. Like, how do I use this as a reminder to love deeper? To forgive more, to be more compassionate, and to know my brother's pain and my sister's pain out there in the world deeper. Because people that have not been stabbed will not be able to relate to that. But there are people that are stabbed that have nowhere to go and no one to understand, right? The same thing you're going through. Your challenges are the key to recognizing what your curriculum is to return to love. And that's the perspective to take. Is this is love. This scar right here is a calling for love. What does that mean for me? What is it? And you get to assign the story to it, and you get to realize, did this story that assigned this perspective, right? Because it's not the truth. Whatever you think about it is not going to be the truth, but it's a perspective. The Course calls it right perspective, which leads you down the path back home. Home is the truth. But the journey itself, there is a right perspective and a wrong perspective. The difference between those two is not a right or wrong in terms of what we think it is. It is a delay in time. You're going to get there regardless. You're going to get so fed up with your stories and your circumstances and your story. At some point, you're going to be like, God, show me the way. Tell me what these things are for. Right? But if we try to identify and we try to make the stories up ourselves, we're trapped, we're imprisoned by the past to not be able to make the right decision and the right judgment right now. So it's, let me give it over. Always, the answer is always calling forth and inviting spirit to take it over. That's always the answer. So I don't know what that will look like for you specifically in form, but in spirit, it is, let me give it up. Let me find the peace, right? And each one of us here, even as I speak it, I can recognize that part of what I'm saying here, there is truth in it. There is pieces of truth that helps us remember, and I can feel it, not even just in like intellectually am I getting it, because I'm kind of intellectually don't know what I'm saying at all, but I can feel the truth a lot of times. And I just lean into that and I just keep going with it. So, Yeah, that's why people oftentimes, like, if you ask me to repeat what I just said to you right now, I can't, because intellectually I have no clue what I'm saying. So hopefully what I said and what I shared supports you, because I do feel it, that it supported me. And yeah, so
Yeah, that's really, really, really beautiful. It reminds me that, I'm here to help others and helping them with,
mm,
oftentimes I have individuals who come into my life who need that deep healing, and, because I took a long time to find out like someone to talk to about it, to understand it,
yeah.
and to be that light, now realizing it's thank you. That's so beautiful. I can look at my scars and know that it's from deep love, and to have that deep love for others and their pain. I love that so much, man. Thank
Mm,
you so much.
yeah, it's a possibility. Thank you for sharing. Like, it opens a portal in the space for all of us. This collective healing just by listening to what you're sharing. So, everyone up to this point, thank you all so much for creating the container to lead to here.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah. So we'll take the last share from Liba, and then we'll read, because I don't want to go into not reading this section again. We're gonna make it through this book
Okay.
at some point.
I'm glad you didn't read yet. Kayla, I wanted to share for you. I jumped in right when you were in the middle of speaking. I had a court case years ago that I was busy with, that I decided I'm not gonna stay in it for the money, even though it was a lot of money, multiple six figures, and I decided this money's get bad energy, and it's gonna bring with it the energy, like the energy I don't want. And I walked away from it, and it was like the best thing I could have done. Like when I came to that decision and decided like this is not what I want, and this is not the energy I want in my life, and I just walked away completely, 120%. It was like a freedom that I didn't even know was possible. But I also like what you've been saying, Alex, about just like all of this with the body and the mind. Like, I'm still sick. I'm still tired. I still have a cough. I just went and got tested for mono and Lyme last on Friday, so I don't have results yet. But like, it's crazy, and I'm still dealing with my tooth from 2 months ago. So like, it's not normal. I've been to like doctors, dentists, back forth, back forth. They keep sending me back and forth from like ENTs to dentists. But anyways, like it makes me realize, you know, the days that I'm feeling really good and I go to work or I get up, like I haven't worked out in a month. But I just remind myself that like as low energy as I am, I still am healthier, and like I still have so much of my health that so many people don't have. And so I just like look at that and like look at like the fact that I have all my limbs, and I can get up and get out of bed, and yeah, like I don't know what's wrong with me. I've been super tired, cough on and off for like a month now. It's crazy.
Hmm.
Tooth pain, which is maybe a mass, maybe an infection. Nobody knows. It's crazy. Still waiting. Um, so yeah, anyways, I just wanted to say that for you, Kayla. That's your name, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is it
Yeah.
Kayla? I
Yeah.
think
It's
so.
Kayla. Yeah.
Yeah, just like making a decision to walk away, like, and it's funny because I'm a nurse, so I work with the patients all the time that come in from car accidents, that come in from workers' comp, that are having surgeries from these pains and are getting these injections and are getting spine surgeries done and these like ortho surgeries done. And it's a lot, like from both sides. So yeah,
Yeah. Thank you for
like
sharing
just
that.
making decisions. Anyways, that's all I got. Thanks.
So, thank you for sharing that, Liba. And we'll just send out a prayer now for all of us with emotional pains, physical pains, financial pains, whatever it is. Just, dear God, let us recognize that all of our pains, whatever form that it may take, that it does serve the greatest good. It serves the way that you have designed for each one of us, for us to reveal and remember our greatest version. The greatest version of ourselves is wanting to be revealed through these so called physical pains and emotional pains and our financial pains and all the different forms of pains. May all of those be recognized as the journey, to return back to love, and so that we may have peace with all of those things. So may peace be with everyone, so we may go out and heal others as well. Amen. I hope.
Amen.
Okay, I am going to start this section. This section is, chapter 8 is one of my favorite chapters. It's actually called The Journey Back. So no accidents that we're talking about this, because the course is like, here it is, the journey back. And now we're having this conversation. So remember 2 calls ago when we started this, the first section was the direction of the curriculum. So remembering that knowledge, so even everything that we spoke about here, knowledge is not the motivation for learning this course. Knowledge is not the reason why each one of us is here on this call here, and anybody else that is online listening to this right now. Peace is. Peace is the motivation behind all of this, not knowledge. All right? Because knowledge is something that is truth, and it is never changing. It is eternal, so it will be there no matter what. It already is. But the experience of peace is why we're studying this course, why the course is even here. So chapter 8, section 2 is called The Difference Between Imprisonment and Freedom. There is a rationale. Before I start reading, I always like to preface with this. Listen with your heart. Okay, because words are symbols. So you got to allow yourself to just be open right now. Just say, I am open to whatever is going to show up in my thoughts. Knowing that my thoughts will create in the physical form and in my body, I am open to the freedom that this section, as Alex reads this, that I may recognize the words behind the words, the energy that is wanting to be shared from God to Helen, to whoever gave me this book, to me, to you. Okay. There is a rationale for choice. Only one teacher knows what your reality is. If learning to remove the obstacles to that knowledge is the purpose of this curriculum, you must first learn it of him. The ego does not know what it's trying to teach. It is trying to teach you what you are without knowing what you are. It is expert only in confusion. It does not understand anything else. As a teacher, then, the ego is totally confused and totally confusing. Even if you could disregard the Holy Spirit entirely, which is impossible, you could still learn nothing from the ego because the ego knows nothing. Is there any possible reason for choosing a teacher such as this? Does the total disregard of anything it teaches make anything but sense? Is this the teacher to whom the Son of God should turn to find himself? The ego has never given you a sensible answer to anything. Simply on the grounds of your own experience with its teaching, should not this alone disqualify it as your future teacher? Yet the ego has done more harm to your learning than this alone. Learning is joyful if it leads to you along your natural path and facilitates the development of what you are. When you are taught against your nature, however, you will lose by your learning, because your learning will imprison you. Your will is in your nature and therefore cannot go against it. So when we're learning from the ego, we are learning against our nature. When we judge, when we attack, when we are afraid, those are against our nature. Our nature is to grow and to expand love. We know when we're in that space. We know when we create a safe space for others that this is going along with my nature, my natural path, not against it. But when we're in that shitty space, we know we're being taught against our nature. The ego cannot teach you anything as long as your will is free, because you will not listen to it. It is not your will to be imprisoned, because your will is free. That is why the ego is the denial of free will. It is never God who coerces you, because he shares his will with you. His voice teaches only in accordance with his will, but that is not the Holy Spirit's lesson, because that is what you are. The lesson is that your will and God's cannot be out of accord because they are one. This is the undoing of everything the ego tries to teach. It is not then only the direction, is it not then only the direction of the curriculum that must be unconflicted, but also the content. So, right, it's not just the direction that we go that needs to be undone, but also the content of which we put into our mind. The ego tries to teach you that you want to oppose God's will. This unnatural lesson cannot be learned, and the attempt to learn it is a violation of your own freedom, making you afraid of your will because it is free. So the Course is telling us we are afraid of our own freedom, our own free will. The Holy Spirit opposes any imprisoning of the will of a Son of God, knowing that the will of the Son is the Father's. The Holy Spirit leads you steadily along the path of freedom, teaching you how to disregard or look beyond everything that will hold you back. We are so afraid of what will set us free. We are so afraid to give love freely that we create boundaries and laws against it. We are so afraid to love others and to be hurt by others that we literally will imprison others physically to protect our identity, to protect ourselves, to protect our free will or our imprisoned will. We have said that the Holy Spirit teaches you the difference between pain and joy. That is the same as saying he teaches you the difference between imprisonment and freedom. You cannot make this distinction without him because you have taught yourself that imprisonment is freedom. We have taught ourselves that money is freedom. We have taught ourselves that status is freedom. We have taught ourselves that flying in a private jet and having a car and having the nice watches and all the things, that's freedom. We have taught ourselves that. So that's why the Course says you cannot make this distinction yourself. You can't make the distinction of your physical stabbing wounds or anything yourself because you don't know what it's for. Believing them to be the same, how can you tell them apart? Can you ask the part of your mind that has taught you to believe that they're the same to teach you that they're different? You hold on to a story. How can your mind, your story of the not good enough, of the insecurities, of the scarcity, of that joy and pain, I don't know the difference between them, that imprisonment and freedom is the same thing. How can that part of you teach you the opposite? That's why we can't figure it out on our own. It's so clear right here in this passage. We cannot figure it out on our own because we hold those past stories and we are going to run everything through those stories. And those stories just continue to create what it has always created. So if you want something different, you must ask for the assistance of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit's teaching takes only one direction and has one goal. The direction is freedom, and his goal is God. Yet he cannot conceive of God without you because it is not God's will to be without you. You have learned that your will is God's. You can no more will to be without him than he could be without you. This is freedom and this is joy. Deny yourself of this and you are denying God his kingdom because he created you for this. See, this joy and this freedom comes from knowing, man, my will is the same as God's. That means everything that is happening in the world, God is creating for me, and I am in this same will. In that surrender is where our freedom and joy comes, because we're like, oh man, that feels good to not have to be the one that decides what to do. That feels good when I don't have to judge and attack others for things that are happening around the world. That feels good when I don't have to make a decision against, whoever is going to be the president of the country. When I said, all power and glory are yours because the kingdom is his, this is what I meant. The will of God is without limit, and all power and glory lie within it. It is boundless in strength and in love and in peace. It has no boundaries because its extension is unlimited, and it encompasses all things because it created all things. By creating all things, it made them part of itself. You are the will of God because that is how you were created. Because your creator creates only like himself, you are like him. You are apart from him who is all power and glory and are therefore as unlimited as he is. We create the reality of our life in accordance to us, and every single story and everything that we've collected is the same as our story that we've created. God created you, and so his will is yours. You are an extension of that thought, of what is real in his will. Just like all of your thoughts and all the things that you've collected is an extension of your will, and will only serve as evidence to what you believe is real in your mind. When you acknowledge this, to what else except all power and glory can the Holy Spirit appeal to restore God's kingdom? His appeal then is merely to what the kingdom is and for its own acknowledgement of what it is. When you acknowledge this, you bring the acknowledgement automatically to everyone because you have acknowledged everyone. By your recognition, you awaken theirs, and through theirs, yours is extended. Awakening runs easily and gladly through the kingdom in answer to the call for God. This is the natural response of every son of God to the voice of his creator, because it is the voice for his creation and for his own extension. So that wraps up the difference between imprisonment and freedom. On Wednesday, we will go through the holy encounter, which is a great, great section. I have lots of things underlined and circled in there. Whew, we made it. We got 9 more minutes. Where would you guys like to go?
Do you still do your tarot cards or whatever those cards are?
Oh, I can.
That would be kind of cool. Just for the hell of it.
Brilliant.
I do what I can. I do what I can.
So the first card actually I pulled, this is actually a cool deck. I'm actually going to go, wherever I go now, I'm going to give these out. At the conference, I'm going to give these out to everyone. Okay. You can refuse to enter, but you cannot bar the door that Christ holds open. Come unto me, who hold it open for you. For while I live, it cannot be shut, and I live forever. Oof.
That's powerful.
That's a good one. I'm going to take a picture of that after.
Excellent.
Now, those tarot cards that you're talking about, let's see what, I always liked watching people do tarot cards and the way that they're like, trying to feel it and things just fall out or whatever it does. And I'm going to make my own way. Okay, this one won't go. This is it. My holiness shines bright and clear today. In this world, you can become a spotless mirror in which the holiness of your Creator shines forth from you to all around you. You can reflect heaven here on earth.
Nice.
Yes. All right. Yeah, thanks for that. That was it's a good reminder. My cleaning lady put these cards really far away from me and under a bunch of things, so I didn't take them out. I'll leave them on my desk now. Okay.
Tell us more about your event in October then.
Okay.
How is that going?
So I think we are probably 20 to 25 tickets left total. It is October 21st to 23rd in Las Vegas. And the entire theme is going to be, what I share all the time on these calls. It's a movement. It's a movement to ushering in the new age, whatever this new age looks like. And we will co-create that together. I've brought together really, really amazing people. Some are going to teach about the strategies and tactics of financials and things like that. There will be some real estate and some tax talks in there, but it's a fully immersive experience where there's going to be a lot of space of talking about a movement, that we're going to bring together. It's a collection of really epic people in my life. It's not all the epic people, because there are some other really, really amazing facilitators which will join us in the next impact events. And but there will be a lot of talks about how to create this new earth. It's a mastermind at the same time as a immersive experience. There will be breakthrough exercises. There will be a lot of group connections and sharings. There will be a hypnosis show on the first night. There will be a scavenger hunt slash amazing race. So we have some clues and all these things designed for it. We've put a lot of effort into it, and we're bringing on, people that have thrown over 200-300 events. From ideas, strategists to camera crew to the facilitators. Like, it's all very, very much, and everyone is very aligned. It's gonna be cool. It'll be. I feel like it's gonna be really different from anyone that I've seen or been to. I feel like a lot of the events reflect people's wanting and desire to serve others, but they're kind of just like, we're going to talk about kind of the same things and networking, right? And just like, and a lot of the things happen outside the rooms, which nothing's going to happen really outside things will happen outside the room, but the entire container will be inside the room, right? Like we're going to ask people to, agree to some of these things, to create the safety, to create the space for everybody. And it's not going to be a pitch fest. Like it's not going to be a pitch fest where everyone's like, oh my God, here goes day 3. It's going to be a pitch fest and everyone leaves before day 3. Like this is an event where the biggest things are happening on day 3. And the deepest conversations, because it's going to be a journey. We're going to take people on a journey from day 1 to day 2 to day 3. And there will be a recognition that there's a new possibility, a new way of doing business, new way of creating community that will drastically shift the world. We can make an impact. So, for those of you guys that have heard me speak, have been around me for years, I'm always about making an impact. I'm always about making positive changes in the world, And I come from all different angles. Like I'll come from A Course in Miracles. I'll come from plant medicines. I'll come from, real estate, investments, like whatever it is. I really feel like I can, bring this conversation to any industry. So, yeah. I'm excited, nervous at the same time. The week before, Love and I are going to a relationship conference called Pleasure Island, and basically I'm going to come back on Sunday, and then Monday morning's the event. So that also brings up a lot of stuff for me. But just trusting in my team. I get to trust in my team, trust the context I've created for our entire team. And we've brought some really, really amazing people to support us put this event together. I have spared no expenses. The amount I'm spending on a little event is the size of money that people spend on big ones. So hopefully you guys show up to to experience it. You know, this is the first one. It's like legacy, you know. All right. That's it. That's all, folks. I feel like this has been a really, really amazing call. Thank you all so much for being here. I feel like I might actually go back and watch some parts of this to make sure I include it in my book. Never watched a replay of any of my stuff, so this will be a first.
I got my tickets already. I'm booked and ready to go.
Yeah.
I found the place. I'm coming in on Friday. We're coming in on Friday, so I haven't found a room for Friday and Saturday.
Cool.
And I'll be checking in on Sunday night over there. So.
Yeah, anybody that stays longer, whatever, I've basically cleared my whole week, so people that stay longer will spend time together, things like that. So I'm going to send out an email for all of that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to whatever that creates. Yeah. All right, guys. Have a fantastic day. Happy Sunday. Much love. Talk soon.